Offenses under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act also fall under the federal definition of terrorism. And when you look at it that way, it seems absurd that transmitting a Netflix username and password could be a federal terrorism offense.
Did you do this?
No, I didn't do it. While I was hoping that I could clear my name at trial, it looks like we'll have to do that on appeal, and we think we have a very good shot there.
The Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, this is a law that many folks in the tech community have kind of spoken out against and said that oftentimes the crimes aren't proportional to the punishments. How would you say this relates to your case?
Well, I think if you look at the allegations in the case, and again, they're allegations that I flatly deny, but if you take a step back and you look at the allegations in this case, essentially for what amounts to a 40-minute defacement, I'm looking at 2 years in custody. And when you break it down, that's about 18 days for every minute that the story was apparently altered. And it was a story on tax cuts, as I understand it to be. It's a law that was drafted in the 80s and has basically been stuck in the 80s ever since. Because it was written so vaguely, understandably at the time, because computers were different and there wasn't as broad access to the internet as there is now, it's sort of been regressive instead of progressive over time. Lawmakers have found more encouragement into tightening these laws than in modifying them so that they have caught up with the times.
Is there anything else in the criminal justice system that you could compare this kind of sentencing to?
Yes, actually, we brought up a case in court that had basically the same amount of allegations that were made against me. You had, and this is somebody who admitted it, this was a case out of Pittsburgh, and that person got 2 years probation, something like 300 hours of community service, and was ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $2,000. But because this case involved a journalist who had sensitive source material relating to computer intrusions, the government never offered anything like that, and it's not anything that I would have taken, but decided to be incredibly heavy-handed to send a message, I think, that if you don't cooperate with our investigations, this is going to be the outcome. Listen, if lawmakers are not going to act on the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, then it's incredibly important that people who are prosecuted under the law for benign activity appeal their cases, take their cases to trial, try to win, and if they don't win, appeal their cases, because on appeal we have a real shot at narrowing the applicability of the law.
What's it like for you as a journalist to become the story?
The fact that I've had to go through this process has given me a heightened level of skepticism when it comes to people who are in authority, and I think that that's something that is missing or starting to wane a little bit from the journalism community. There are some great journalists out there who have a deep level of skepticism of our government and of people who are in positions of power and positions of authority, and that's really important, because when they do things like this, when they bring cases like the one they brought against me, when they do things like try to justify getting federal Homeland Security funding for initiatives that really they're misappropriating the money, it's journalists who have a deep level of skepticism in those institutions who wind up breaking stories that change laws.